Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker, shills, desolate, sirs, peasants, vassals, Cypriots. I'm a useful idiot, and a very, very interesting story broke over the weekend, and it had to break over the weekend because Cyprus is getting a bailout, but on a very unusual bailout. Because as it turns out, international leaders agreed to a 10 billion euro bailout of Cyprus early on Saturday morning after 10 hours of negotiation. But the deal came only after convincing Cyprus to force depositors in Cypriot banks to contribute 5.8 billion euros to the rescue, a first for any Eurozone bailout. So this is supposedly a one-off tax, is what they're calling it, a one-off tax on deposits in the banks in Cyprus. Accounts with more than 100,000 euros will be taxed at a 9.9% rate, and accounts with less than 100,000 euros will be taxed at a 6.75% rate. And Mr. Sars said the Cypriot Parliament would adopt the taxes over the weekend, and the money would be extracted from accounts before banks took up business on Tuesday, because the banks are closed for a holiday on Monday. So how about that? How about that? They call this a tax, but this is direct confiscation, a one-off tax extracted from people's accounts at these banks in Cyprus over the weekend at a rate of 10% for the relatively wealthy and 7% for the less wealthy is shocking, to say the least. Direct confiscation of taxpayer money, of regular accounts money, just extracted by the government and by the banks from their accounts and given out to a bailout. A bailout to which it looks like they're going to be contributing about 60% of, which is also rather shocking. And they went so far as to block all electronic transfers, so nobody could get access to the money all weekend. And funds were frozen on Friday. So they wanted to make sure that nobody had a chance to take any of their money out of the banks. And as usual, they're going to protect all the senior bondholders. So all the senior bondholders are getting protected by this, while the banksters rape Cyprus and rape the bank deposits of the Cypriot banks. I can't emphasize enough how shocking this story is, and I share the dismay of Mish and Carl Denninger and everyone else that I know that's aware of this event. This is really pretty staggering. This is the banks at their very worst. They've gotten so blatant that the government in Brussels and the Banksters and the IMF and the European Central Bank and everyone else is getting on board to just steal money from people's accounts in Cyprus. So we'll see if this is a trend. This is certainly going to send some shockwaves through Europe right now, and many observers are suggesting there's going to be some big bank runs if people think this is going to be the wave of the future for bailouts. And they justify this by saying they want to avoid unsettling investors in larger countries and sparking a new round of market contagion. And that's why this is important, even though the Cyprus economy is less than 0.2% of the total Eurozone economy. What they're interested in doing is protecting bondholders and avoid unsettling other large investors and creating more market contagion. So, but this is going to go bad with another piece of legislation just handed out by Brussels, that the EU will now require member states that are offered bailouts to have to force them to take them. And that, of course, would be Spain that they're looking at. So what do you think Spain is thinking now when deposits are being confiscated in Cyprus, and now they may be forced to take a bailout that they've thus far refused? So this is going to get interesting really fast. As I've mentioned before, I've wanted to do a follow-up on the Eurozone, but things happen so fast and there's so much ground to cover that I'm still working towards a big picture. And it's not good. And as usual, just because a lot of people aren't aware of Cyprus, and it hasn't been on the map. It will be now. This is a big financial event that's happening there. But just a little background as usual. They were part of the Ottoman Empire from 1571 on. Then they became a part of the British Empire from 1878 on. And then they got their independence in 1960. And there were UN forces there to try and keep the peace, and Turkey even threatened to invade Cyprus in 1964. LBJ stepped in. And all through the 70s, there was clashes between the Turkish population and the Greek population on Cyprus. And it managed actually to displace huge portions of the population. Over 180,000 Greeks moved to the Greek part of the island. And then Turkey invaded again in the 70s, and they remained there and occupy 40% of the country. In fact, they call the northern part of Turkey the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, but the only country that recognizes that is Turkey. So for the last 30-some-odd years, Turkey officially has been occupying half of the island of Cyprus. So just a little note there. But there's nothing particularly striking about Cyprus. They have an advanced high-income economy, moderate for the Eurozone, and have a huge tourism business, and seem to be getting past the divisions in the country to a certain extent. But this is how it goes. They announced about last June, they announced they'd need a 1.9 billion euro bailout, and now, of course, it's turned into a 10 billion euro bailout. But boy, Cyprus people are really taking the shorts today. As I said before, I hope this isn't a trend, and watch for some fireworks about this event coming up this week. I'm Useful Idiot. Don't you be one too.